Samuel chapter 1. I'll start in verse 24 and go through 27. Now this is still Daniel finishing mourning over Saul's death, but he kind of changes it towards, at this point, to show the other people why Saul's death should affect their life, why they should have a mourning and a genuine, heartfelt sorrow that Saul's dead. And sometimes we as Christians need to let people know how they should be feeling about certain things. Like the fact that if they're just in church, sitting on a pew and never get excited about anything, that their heart ain't in the right place. David was telling these people their heart wasn't in the right place because they should have been sorrowful that Saul died. If anyone would have been justified to have been content with Saul's death, it would have been David. Because Saul seeked to kill David at certain times. So for the rest of Israel not to be sorrowful about losing their king, they had a reason to be fussed at. Sometimes we can see people, of course there's bad leaders and there's people that are not really cause trouble for other people, and it may not be directly towards us. It's just these people he mentions. Saul most likely didn't directly cause trouble to them, but they heard things about Saul and what he was doing, and they decided not to mourn. And that's the same way it works with us today. We can hear certain things about other people and us get a bad opinion about them, to where something actually bad happens to them and we're not genuinely heartfelt about helping them or talking to them or anything. So I'll start with the scripture. Ye daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you in scarlet, with delights, who put ornaments of gold upon your apparel. Now, at this day and time, today we can get clothes easily in whatever color we want. But at this time, dyeing was a little costly. So most people wore like plain clothes, whatever the animal was, it was in that color. It was either mainly tan and beiges and occasionally some darker grays and things is what people would have wore, because it don't involve dyeing of clothes. To get a red would have been something almost as royal as purple. We see purple recognized as royalty, but red would have been something that would have took time as well. Any type of dyeing would have took time and effort to get them. And it's saying that Paul put this consideration in this for these women of Israel, to give them golden ornaments. Now this isn't saying that Saul was trying to do this to have these women as his wives. He was just, and it could have been that, but either way, he treated these women right. You know, he gave them things and gifts and treated them as special. And these women, because of that, had the reason to grieve that Saul was no longer there, because he was good to them. Sometimes we got to be reminded just how people were at a certain point, because they may have changed. During Saul's end towards his life, he was a rebellion against the Lord, and that somewhat overcast his devotion to the Lord in his early part, which is most likely probably the time when he gave these women these gold ornaments and these scarlet dresses. But they forgot about that because of him rebelling against God, possibly. So sometimes we got to remember, okay, they weren't always bad. And David's bringing that up to them. How are the mighty fallen in the midst of the battle? O Jonathan was slain in thine high places. Okay, the battle, we see earlier in the verses, he mentions about a mountain. So, mountains of Gilboa. So this is reference not Jonathan being in like a holy place, a high place of God. It's reference to the place he actually died, in the mountains. Jonathan would have, Scripture describes him as a time and time again as a soldier, a great soldier, somebody who is valiant effort and would fight the battle. And Jonathan was, Saul was king, so Saul gave the orders. We see how Jonathan looked out for David in 1 Samuel. So when Saul was trying to kill him, Jonathan warned him, which showed that Jonathan's devotion was to the Lord was more than the kingdom of Israel, more to his dad, his devotion to the Lord of doing what was right. And we need to put our priorities in order like that. Put what's right to God first, and everything else will fall into place. Jonathan was a good soldier and a valiant soldier, but he was a servant of the Lord first. And regardless of what we do in this life or called to do, we need to always be a servant to the Lord first. I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love was wonderful, passing the love of women. So what he's saying is the bond I have with you, the love I have with you is better than just some random woman coming by into my life. He isn't saying it's better than the wives he has. He's saying that his connection with Jonathan's more important than a passing fling or whatever. He can count on him. And there's a great bond of friendship there that he really is going to miss. How are the mighty fallen? The weapons of war perished. Now their weapons were taken and put in the temple of Dagon. I don't know if it mentions it in this or if it's mentioned in 1 Kings. But their swords and their shields are taken and put in their the Philistine temple after this, because the Philistines were kind of appeasing that they defeated the kingdom, overthrew the king and his heir. But our weapon as Christians is a word. When we're to stand on that, we're to study it, we're able to use it. We're not to allow our weapon to become useless. People try to make it useless to where we can't use it. And that's just when we learn our weapon more, look into it more. That way it can be more effective again.